Okay, the reading is going to be what spiritual sense are you strengthening in? What spiritual sense are you strengthening in at this time? This could be a lifetime thing for you. This could be just something that you're going through today, this week, coming up, just went through it. So it's up to you to apply this how it resonates for you in your life, okay? And I don't know, I just thought it would be fun to talk about it, because sometimes when we put our focus on it and we realize that that's what's going on, we can get some more done with it, you know what I mean? Or we can stop feeling so confused, or we can surrender to the fact that that's what's happening, or we can get excited about it, or we can practice, you know, whatever it is. So we're going to do 3 picks. Let's choose some objects here. Here are the picks. I've got this broken shell, which I'm sure I found at the ocean. I like picking up even the broken ones. I always leave the ocean with tons and tons of broken shells. But I can use shells for readings, you know. I actually was thinking that I should do that. Let me do that. So even if you don't pick this one, I'm still going to use my shells to do a reading. Yeah, I just got to grab them out of the back room. All right, so this is pick 1. Pick 2 is the orange calcite. And pick 3 is the rose quartz. It looks more pink in person than it does in this. I wonder why it's so washed out. This is my, like, let me check my brightness is exactly balanced, so. All right, I'll be right back with the shells and then we'll get into it. Well, Spirit just played a little joke on me. So I know that Spirit has asked me to declutter my home. And repeatedly has asked me to do this. And I've been doing it slowly over time. But sometimes I'll feel like, oh, that's enough. You know, I don't want to get rid of anything else. And then it'll come up again. Declutter. Come on, declutter. And it's not like pressing because I'm moving or anything. So there's nothing really motivating me to it except for my guidance. And so there's 2 parts of me inside. I've kind of been at war with the whole process. Like, I like my stuff. There's a purpose in me having it, so why do I have to get rid of it? And it's kind of like, well, because you're preparing for some change in the future, so you're going to be a lot happier with that change when the time comes if you have lightened your load here. It's like, okay, I get it. Thank you. Appreciate that. You know, sometimes when you think like about life and you're like, oh, if I had only known. It's like, yeah, we're letting you know. So I've been on that task, but also been a little bit stuck with it because I really genuinely feel like everything that I have here is stuff that's useful to me. And also it feels like if I get rid of it, donate it, whatever, or give it to someone else, that then I'm going to want it or need it or something. And I know also that that's not how life works. Like, if you are in the flow, then you're going to line up with what you need when you need it. You don't have to hoard things at all. And so this is just like a way that Spirit's kind of helping me step into living in faith in my flow state, not having to be in those like dense places of worrying about I won't have what I need or want, you know? So it's kind of like that, right? It is a spiritual lesson. It is a spiritual guidance that I'm getting in the form of a very practical thing, which is downsizing my belongings. So the thing is, like, I have 2 bedrooms here, but I live as if I'm in a studio, and I use those 2 bedrooms as storage. So it's like a closet. See, you can see like I've got clothes hanging in there, my suitcase, which is the rest of my Oracle cards, some TJ Maxx bags filled with, I think they're winter clothes. So that's what's in that room, and then there's a whole other room. No, it's not jam-packed or anything. This room's full like this because there are actually bunk beds on one wall of this that come right to the door. So this is like kind of the middle of the room there, and on the other side is like a table and benches. And so anyway, there's stuff on the bunk beds though, and there's stuff on the table. Like the clothes are on the table actually. And the other room, you know, you can walk in there fine. You could even put a bed in there if you wanted, but like it's like some craft supplies, some just stuff that I don't use every day, that I like, my winter shoes and my tools, and what else? Empty boxes that I've saved because I know eventually I am going to move, and I just thought, oh, these are good boxes, I'll flatten them and I'll keep them. And a bunch of supplies for my business are in there, but also in there. And then I have a mudroom. And also in the mudroom are more boxes that I've kept that are empty. And some totes of clothing that are not my size now, but are clothing I really like in the size that I eventually will be. And so this is what it's like for me, right? Like, I get it. Like, I don't need to hold on to all this stuff. And I do fear that when I do get down to the size I want to be, that it would be more difficult for me to get the styles that I like in the clothing, because they don't make it now. They don't sell it. I would have to like sift through thrift, and I don't want to have to do that, you know, if I already have it. So there's going to be some compromises that I make about what I really need to hold on to and what I don't. And craft supplies galore. I have a lot of craft supplies. And they're for crafts I really want to do. Sewing projects, things that I make for my business, things that I make as gifts. Just like, I really like my stuff, you know? So anyway, I don't need to plead to you. And I know that anytime I'm justifying something, it's my ego justifying it. So you can see this right in me, that I do have an egoic coping mechanism that is trying to protect me from the pain of being without. Now, I am a person who's been homeless. I've lost everything more than once. I grew up in what most would probably consider poverty, and I have gone hungry, and I have gone without gone without a lot of things that I wanted at times, and lost things that I really liked having. And so I think those are like kind of the pains that I'm having to work through as I do this project of decluttering, you know? And they're probably stored in my body, because as I'm doing this project, see, here I am back on coffee, and I drank it yesterday, and like you can see the inflammation came right back into my face when I replaced my juice with coffee. I still drank juice, but I also had coffee, you know, and I had it in the morning, and I had my juice later in the night. So it's like that, those energies as I get into them get me back off track. So that's very interesting, right? So here's the joke that Spirit played. Well, I got this like inner urge to go get my shells and do shells as part of the reading. I thought, oh, I believe that they're right in this suitcase where all my other tarot cards are. And some of you might be thinking, why the fuck does she need an entire suitcase for tarot cards? Yeah, I know. There's a divider in there, and a lot of the ones that I have here would still fit in that case. It's just that I have them all organized in there so that if I were to travel with them. So it's not like jam-packed full of them or anything. It's just a organizer within that suitcase that lets me put them each in a slot. And most of them are not in their slots right now. So anyway, so I went to the suitcase to get my shells and they weren't there, and I was like, oh. And then I was like, huh, where did I put them? So then I looked around in there. They weren't in there. And then I was like, huh, maybe they're in the other room. And so I went to the other room, looked around, they weren't there. I went to this cubby where I have my sewing machine and some other crafts that I'm like actively working on behind a curtain, and they weren't there. And then I looked over in this table right here with the flowers on it. And there's some storage. So I looked and it wasn't in there. And then I was thinking, huh, Spirit, are you trying to show me that I really need to declutter? Because I don't know how to find something that I know I have and I would like to find. And that was the joke, That was the joke. Spirit was saying, yeah, that, there really is a valid reason that we're asking you to declutter. And it's not just for your emotional release, but your health. And, it's like you don't have to hold on to this anymore. It's like, oh, okay. So then I just took a pause, and then I just kind of like said, all right, well, I didn't find them. And then it popped in my head where they are. And normally when I navigate life, Spirit will feed me what I need to know when I need to know it. So I assumed that when I thought they were in that suitcase, that's where they were, because I can usually trust what I know. And that's why I say it was a joke by Spirit, because where I would normally be fed the answer right away, it was held back from me on purpose so that I would fumble around and see what they were trying to show me, which was, you got too much stuff, girl. And so when it popped in my head, they were right under my bed in a container that I have filled with river rocks. Like, I need those. I just like them, I just like them. And also on that tote was this, a whole entire thing of Palo Santo. I don't even think there's any taken out of this. So I probably bought 2 more since having this, and it's like that. It's like, oh, yeah, okay, I guess I do need to declutter because this is a little bit out of hand. So the reason I'm sharing that also, and not just like starting a video over and not making that part of it, is because just that example of how that's working in my life might be something that you can apply to yourself, even if it's not on the topic of decluttering, but like the way you're being handled by Spirit, the way your guidance is maybe like something you're fighting against, you can kind of see through the example of me, and apply it to something that's going on in your life for you. If it's appropriate, which I suspect it is. But let's still do the reading, and then I will get to doing more decluttering. I so far have a whole pile of stuff I'm ready to put into a box to donate. This is after donating 3 boxes a month ago. And have another pile that's ready to go to my son's house. A brand new Brita pitcher still in the package. Some Christmas lights that he said he didn't know if he wants, but he'll check them out. And some old cannabis containers and like a grinder that I don't need anymore because I don't partake. I can't really donate those, so I want to give them to somebody. What else? Yeah, I'm just going to have to go through again, really humble myself, really put myself in the space of, I can attract this when I need it. I can let this go now. Someone else might need it more right now. And I think that will actually feel really good when I get less burdened by stuff, Because the interesting thing is, the reason why I was so comfortable with having all my stuff is because I had enough space to store it in. But it was getting to the point where I was like, oh, now I can't find stuff because, I like the space that I'm in to be neat and clear of clutter. But I noticed that when I was looking for the shelves, like, oh, it's cluttered in the storage spaces now, and that's not okay. So it's interesting how you sometimes just have to put on another person's perspective, like spirit's perspective, or, just try on a different view, and then things just start looking way different. I'm just shuffling for pick one's card, so let's get started with pick one. The rest of all that was the intro, which applies to everybody. Okay, pick one. What spiritual skill are you strengthening? Your creative expression. You're being more willing to color outside the lines. You understand that this is your creation, that you want the flavor of you into it, that what you have to contribute is unique, that is your own, that it bears the vibration of who you are and your contribution to the all. That you are both inspired by your soul and spirit and your past experiences that you've already cleansed and gained wisdom and balance on. That the way that you creatively express is also transformed in a way, and it's how you transform. That through expressing, you're able to see yourself a bit on the outside and then adjust on the inside. And what comes out is reflective of what's on the inside. That you are aware when you're outside of the box, when you're coloring outside the lines, but still not willing to. You're willing to do it, and you are aware of it, and you are aware that it might not be always well received by others, but you kind of feel like maybe you're even a little bit hidden behind the expression, because all others have is their interpretation of what you're expressing, and it doesn't reflect the fullest picture of you. And I feel like maybe you even only release it anonymously or something. I don't know if you even see yourself as part of it all the time. Maybe you feel like it's a lot of what your value is that your creative expression is your value. Creativity is not only a way of expressing your personality and spirit to the outside world, it's also a great way of disconnecting your analytical mind so you can reconnect with the creative, expressive, and intuitive side of your brain. As children, we started our lives by freely using the more creative right side of our brain. As we get older, as a result of schooling and societal conditioning, there was a tendency to pull away from our right side and rely more on the intellectual left side of our brain. Intuition floats on the edge of creativity. So, by doing something creative, such as taking a class where you can practice sketching, drawing, writing, painting, coloring, making pottery, or whatever, this is benefiting you. Being creative can be quite meditative in its own way. As you develop your psychic and mediumship potential, it can help you to train yourself to let go of logic and trust the information that you're receiving, whether it's psychic information or messages from spirit. Every psychic and medium uses the vast imaginative nature of the right brain to achieve a higher altered state. This is what is known as the artist's mind. This is the special place where communication is pure and authentic. You don't need to have any artistic ability to practice with creative methods and tools. Just making the effort and having fun will definitely help to stretch your spiritual abilities further than you could imagine. So this creative expression doesn't have to be through painting, even though that's what this card is depicting. It's any creative expression. This could be with your words. This could be with your dress. This could be with how you decorate your home. This could be with your vehicle. Maybe you feel like your creative expression really depends on your perceiving of something else. Like it feels like maybe you make it dependent on. Oh. Okay, so what you might be growing out of to strengthen your creative expression is the idea that you have to use the means that are expected of you and practice before you're good enough to be considered sorry be considered acceptable, like that you need to like kind of like make sure you smooth out the edges a little bit, like I had something right on the edge and then I lost it when I got disturbed by the way my hair was put up. Hold on, it'll come back. Like maybe maybe you've come from a place where you don't want to be judged for how you're expressing. That wasn't what it was. Let's see. I'm just going to look at the rest of these shells. Maybe you've come to a place where you're realizing the opinions of others don't really matter towards what it is you're doing. That just the practice of doing it is the meditation, is the expression, and is the contribution you are making to not only yourself but others. But like for yourself, it's like this way to feel connected to God and to yourself and to know yourself more intimately. And that is in the way of just like what your imagination will take you to, but also who you are when you face these ideas of stepping out of the box, these ideas of being different, these ideas of maybe being misunderstood, these ideas of hearing whispers, or maybe you're just coming to this place where you're okay with people making it mean what they want it to mean to them when they see your expression. Maybe you've noticed that certain people will pick up on certain symbolisms in your expression and they'll relate to that within themselves. And even though there's a much bigger picture view, or that you were focused on something else, you also understand that people will see in it what suits them, and just the idea of being okay with that. And also, I think you've come to a point where you're being very patient with yourself, and that you are not needing yourself to be perfect, and you're not needing it to be like, oh, I'm going to make money by making this art, or I'm going to become famous, or it's like more for you. I think you're very patient when you express. If you were like a painter, I could see you like working on a painting and then putting it aside and then like coming back to it when it felt right, when it called to you. Maybe there had been times where you did do more things that you thought would appeal to others. And maybe you've come into the place where it's less about that. It's less about the approval. It's less about even like making it a way to make money or a career or anything like that. It's like the best results come for you when you are literally letting you on the inside be put on the outside. But I think you're coming from a place where you didn't really see it that way necessarily, because you kind of felt blank on the inside, maybe. You felt a little bit dull on the inside, maybe. And you felt like that color that you were putting, the expression that you were putting out was like the only color in your life in a way. And now somehow this has transformed and you maybe started to see it different and started to realize like, no, what you're putting out there is you. Like that's your soul, that's your heart. That's what you had the impetus to put effort towards and focus on. And I think that maybe people think that you're just one of the crowd in a way that you don't think you are. Maybe also it's a way to let yourself be vulnerable in the world, because I don't think all the ways that you express, but sometimes when you express, it's so open-hearted and vulnerable, and it can go just like over the head of some people. Some people wouldn't even know that like that's your heart and soul right there. That's your heart and soul for all to see, and they might just think it's whatever they want to see, you know? It's like it's like this way that you're expressing in on earth and in the world is so much a projection of what it is to be human. And I think the way that people see your art and see you expressing is literally teaching you about life and how people see you and how you can relate to other people or not, you know? Because, okay, here's the difference. It's like those that just look at your expression and let it mean what they want it to mean for them, versus those who look at your expression and then ask you and want to understand where you were coming from. What did this mean to you? What were you feeling and thinking and expressing here? And that might be too intimate of a question, and so you might not even express in places where there are people who would look at you that deeply. And so maybe you are starting to allow that for yourself. Maybe you've sprinkled it in here and there, and now you're just like ready to um, see how life really is. That there's this depth that you may have been robbing yourself of, but it was only because you hadn't been able to look at yourself that deeply yet. And maybe as you saw people interpreting your expression in certain ways, in a way, it might have even caused you to have to look back at yourself and wonder what the discrepancy was and why it was there, and then like start to acknowledge yourself more and start to actually validate your point of view just through noticing the contrast, which is a great way to understand what life is on Earth, because it is a life of experiencing contrast. And we know what we do want by knowing what we don't want. So maybe it was through other people interpreting your creative expression for their own means that you realized that you were lacking some sort of intimacy in life, and that you might have a need to go inward to kind of be with yourself more, get to know yourself more, be intimate with your own self more. And maybe that's when you started putting out these pieces or expressions that were just so much more you. And I feel really kind of emotion kind of coming up from my heart space when I say that, because maybe it feels really validating or something when you hear that perspective, or you hear your story told in that way. And like, your art can actually filter people out of your life that I don't think you would like shun people or say, oh, that person can't see my vision, I would never associate with them. It's not like that. It's just like you discern, like, does this person have the capacity to look more deeply into another being, or is this person a little bit self-absorbed at this time and just looking through the lens of what everything means to them? And that's not wrong, but by by observing this in people, you get to know if people are at a capacity and a level where they can connect with you more deeply or not. Right? Like, how deep is that person living life? Wow. Okay, pick one. Just see if there's anything else. There is a definite, like, way that you feel separate from a majority or a group. And maybe you feel like the ones that are vulnerable in a way that they show their victim mindset or lack, or some sort of brokenness. And the ones that are looking more whole are just like not really open to those more deep places, where you're kind of, I feel like maybe you're kind of doing it in plain sight to people that you're surrounded with who may not even look at you that deeply, where you can like be that expressive that deeply, and then they would not even notice because they're too absorbed in themselves. And it feels like a safe place. Feels like a safe place to express yourself, because you know you won't be seen, because you're doing it around people who can't see past themselves at the moment, their own wounding or coping mechanisms or whatever. But it's a mirror, right? So you might have kind of had to go your own way to sort of like start allowing for yourself the possibility that you would connect with people who are willing to go deeper. And that would only be as a result of you going deeper within yourself. And that was a result, I believe, of living the way that you had. You know what you do want by knowing what you don't want. You notice what it is by noticing what it isn't. Awesome. All right, pick one. So that is the spiritual skill that you are strengthening at this time. Thank you for letting me take a look. I'm going to move on to pick two. I like how I'm showing what's in my closet on this reading. Plus, I'm extremely swollen. Right. Okay. Some ingredients for my candle making are going to be delivered soon. What? Ooh. What spiritual skill are you strengthening at this time? Your ability to know your connection to all. Your ability to be an observer. Oh, so you're really stepping out of the victim or lack mentality. You're stepping out of limitation. You're opening your mind more, which means your heart is probably opened or opening. And there, from the biggest thing that's in your face to the smallest thing, you're open to observing, so that you're also observing the wonder in it all and seeing things that in a way that you hadn't seen them before. And sort of in awe, but sort of just like at peace as well. And feeling really grounded with it. Like, there's no doubts about, like, am I going crazy here or what? But, like, you feel very grounded and you feel very part of it all. Like this is a natural evolution. Like, nothing's necessarily jarring you. It's just opening for you slowly. And is happening when you allow yourself, observation to be. So letting go of worry, letting go of fear of the future, or guilt or regrets for the past. Knowing that you are firmly held in I'm going to use the kind of a phrase to portray what I'm trying to say, but like in the hands of it all. You're seeing how everything is connected to everything else. And that at the same time, everything is so vital, needed. I feel like you can kind of see like the fractal, that everything is in everything else, and it's like let me read the card. I'm also like shuffle the shells a little bit. Has a thought or idea suddenly appeared, seemingly out of nowhere? Perhaps this is what's happening to you. Have you ever given words of wisdom to someone, yet the advice didn't seem to come from you, but through you? This could be evidence that you were possibly spiritually inspired. So this is happening to you. Like, okay, so the experience of, say you're like on your phone at the same time you're watching a show, and like the character on the show says the word that you're reading at the same moment that you're reading it. There's like all these synchronicities and like just life showing you the magic. You're noticing the magic. And you're realizing that like this is your creation. You're so in tune with it, but also you're just like a part of all of it. So the reason why it's your creation is because you're part of the creator. This could be evidence that you are possibly spiritually inspired. Inspirational mediumship is when spirit inspires the spirit within us. Through this type of mediumship, amazing works of art, literature, and advances in science and technology have been created in the physical world for centuries. When advice and guidance is spiritually inspired, whether to one person or a larger audience, that can make the experience even more extraordinary. When spirit inspires us, we don't let our own minds cloud the information. There are no limits to what can be achieved. If you're ready to try this type of inspirational mediumship, then here's an exercise to practice. You can opt to do this alone or with a group. Put a selection of written words in a basket. For example, on small pieces of paper, write down the words love, faith, nature, etc. Without looking, choose a word. Take a moment to blend with spirit and let the words flow into your mind. Speak without pausing for a minute or two on the word you have chosen. Let your guides assist you and speak from your heart. At first you might draw a blank, but in time, wonderful and inspirational wisdom can happen. So this is even talking about, like, if you've had the experience that I described with that synchronicity thing happening, where you're reading the same word as you're hearing at the same time from another place, this is kind of saying, like, play with that a bit. Like, what can you channel when you just talk about that word? You know how, I don't know if you know this, because I don't know how many of my readings you're watching, but there are some readings where I'll get the impression and it's a download, and maybe I've downloaded it before, or maybe it's just a really straightforward message, and I can, talk about it that way with some sort of, like, understanding that I've already attained from before. And then other readings, I'll be like, I don't know what this is, when I'm, like, looking at it, and then I just say, I'm just going to start talking and, like, see what comes out. And when I say that, that's what I'm doing, is I'm letting spirit just come through me, and I'm letting myself learn through being connected to it, through just, like, letting the energy come through my mouth. My throat chakra is doing the interpretations for me. And this is kind of saying, like, you're doing stuff like that. You're playing with that. Maybe you're writing. It could be that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be through speaking. But the idea is just, like, letting yourself be in the flow state, meaning doing the things that you lose track of time while you're doing the things that feel like magic and that are just so in the flow that there's no resistance. It doesn't feel wrong. There's no doubts coming in your mind at the time it's happening. Like, when I'm reading a message, when I'm doing pick a card readings or whatever, like, if there's doubts in my mind, then that's not spirit. That's not flow. That's my own biases getting in the way of the thing I'm trying to interpret, and that's okay. And sometimes I can just, like, talk right through them, and that's my method, But, and this is saying, like, I'm just trying to, like, share that so that you understand what I'm talking about when I talk about that state of being where it's just, that you're in the flow. I'm gonna drop your shells and interpret. At some points, this may have caused you to be, like, more in your shell. And when I say shell, like, you want to do this in your safe space. When you're alone, or when you're in meditation, or when you're in the studio, when you're in the shower. Sometimes when you get an impression on something, maybe you are often wondering, like, is that what it appears to be? You know? And maybe you are understanding that sometimes when something is like it is, and then you look at it, or you're, like, tuned into it, and it doesn't, and it appears to be something different. You may not realize, or maybe you're finding out that the interpretation of what you see is the message for you. Because it's like, sometimes if I would be, I don't know, if I misread a word, what I saw the word as and how I read it is a message too. That's spirit's message. It's like trusting what you see, trusting your interpretation. And it's understandable that your mind might step in and go, hey, that's not what was there. Can I even trust any of this? It's like, no, yes, you can. Because you're reading an impression, and sometimes the impression is not seen. You're reading energy that is not always seen. And it's kind of like the difference getting trained on the difference between trusting yourself and not trusting yourself, and what those two states feel like within your body, which is your guidance system. I'm just kind of closing my eyes and looking at these shells to see what other impressions I can get. You might be like, well, how are you looking at the shells if you're closing your eyes? I'm looking with my third eye. And oh, that's a message for you too, right? Like it's like that. It's like you're looking with your third eye. You're looking at a more subtle plane of what this energy is that you're being given to interpret. Some of it might be like not sitting right sometimes, right? And so it's kind of like you're being acclimated to a lot of different subtle energies that you weren't willing to see before, because you know why? It can be very overwhelming, right? Like like with me, like when I am easing into the juicing, and I'm still eating food as I like work towards the juice fast. It's because I will be way overwhelmed with everything I have to process if I just go right in on the juice fast. And it's like that too. It's like those doubts and fears creep in, and it's so that you can kind of take it at the pace that you need it, right? Like that it's not going to overwhelm you, and you're not going to just like throw your hands up and just decide that you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like that's okay too sometimes, right? Like sometimes you just need a good cry and then go at it from a more playful state. So if I'm describing some situations that you've been through in the process of strengthening this skill, that makes sense. Maybe it feels very isolating at times to kind of see the world through this, because and maybe just like going in your shell, maybe it's like this idea where you haven't been able to find anyone to share it with, share that you're going through this with anyone, like so it's this weird thing where you feel connected to everyone, but also like there's this little niche that you're stuck in that's not really relatable on some level that you're used to relating. Maybe you've stepped into a time of doing experimenting as well, like with your mind, with your thoughts, with how in tune you are to this creation. Like, can I create things? Can I communicate with things? Can I move things with my mind? Can I do telepathy? And it's all valid. It's all like impressions that you're getting. It's all, and it's like what you focus on is the thing you're gonna have most of, right? So it looks like that you're focused on something that's four things out. It's like there are actually three things in front of that thing which are more um, relevant to you to focus on. There's something right in front of you that you're not looking at that you could understand more if you were to look at it. There's something after that that's standing in line to be understood. And then once you do that, I think actually it's going to look a little bit different. Then I think you can actually then go for the thing you're focused on now. Even if you still have something small to work on, there's a big thing right in your face that you've got to take care of first. Then another thing that's going to be getting bigger as that thing gets moved out of the way. and then you can go for the thing you're focused on. So this is kind of like saying, like, the process of reorganizing that and like paying attention to where you're focusing, and allowing the inspiration to even show you where to focus. The process of doing that is going to help you move forward, whereas right now you're not really moving forward. That's why you're focused on the thing that's kind of far away, because you're not feeling ready and stable to move forward. Oh, wow. So my arm bumped the shell and now it's looking a little different, so I'm going to take this part of the reading too. Hold on. Yeah, when you change your focus, what you're going to see is there's a hole in your shell. Oh, I wonder if you're going to feel really exposed. Okay, so here's an example that came to my mind, and it's like this. At some point, when I realized like telepathy was real and that people can read energy, like I could read energy, and that you can't like hide things. Like your Akashic record literally like has everything that you do written on it, and people read Akashic records, right? So when I realized that, I was kind of like, well, if I don't want anyone to know about it, then I'm just not going to do it. You know, it was like that. It was like an easy, logical shift where I wasn't going to waffle on my values and on my integrity anymore. It was like, well, if I'm not feeling good about it, I'm not going to do it. And maybe it's something like that when you look at this thing that's kind of right in front of you trying to get your attention, it's something that you didn't want to see because it makes you feel vulnerable. It's like I was just like, the reason why I adjusted and adapted my behavior was because I wanted to cover that vulnerability I had. And the vulnerability was waffling on my integrity and not living up to my own values, and then and potentially feeling ashamed if somebody knew that. It's like all I did, I decided, okay, well, I'm going to eliminate the possibility that I would do that to myself. And I'm just going to live on the high road, and I'm just going to follow my values and not do the things that I wouldn't want anyone to know I was doing, right? Like I'm not going to be sneaky and in the devil energy without being real, open about it, you know? So, but looking right at this in yourself will allow you to recover from that feeling of vulnerability. Like it would just be a feeling, and then just knowing that it's there, right? Like being aware of our strengths and weaknesses is required for us to feel stable in going through life. Like we need to have an awareness of our own strengths and weaknesses, because if we don't, then those things can be used against us. So actually, after you kind of look at this thing, you will be more secure. It's like your awareness is expanding so much, and there are hidden things, and you have a lot of like adventure and sense of like wanting to know things and curiosity. And so you might even be overwhelmed at times by the possibility of finding this out or that out, right? And maybe you're like a person that like reads 3 books at a time or something like that, or just like has 12 tabs open on the computer because you're always like looking into something. And I kind of want to say that some things in life are distractions, and it's it's kind of why we need discipline sometimes, but like discipline isn't a part of what you're doing necessarily, except it is, right? It's like there's this balance. Yeah, the word balance just came into my awareness, which is on one of these sticks in front of me. There's this balance that's being achieved so that you're not just like floating on the clouds around all this inspiration that you're getting and the wow and the wonder of life, but you can actually ground it. And that's what you're getting really good at now. You're getting really good at grounding what it is you know, and making it like, and living life in terms of being grounded and understanding from a very big spiritual awareness. So you're getting good at knowing what burden to relieve yourself of at a time. Like what is the next thing that you're going to release or integrate into yourself so that it's not holding you back, that you're going to create balance on, so that you can see above it. I picked two. Very cool. I like that very much. And that is just information to reflect on. And it looks like you're reflecting on a lot of things. So I think what the main thing to maybe take away from this is that, like, the thing that you tend to want to focus on, it's like a couple steps away. If you just focus on what's in front of you, you will get there, and it'll just make more sense to do it then, you know? All right, you're reading there. All right, pick three. I put your shelves out first just because I was shuffling them while I was doing the last reading. And here's your card. Pick three, replenish your energy. And I can relate to this so much right now because, like, I just finished a coffee and I'm so, like, kind of run down and swollen just from, like, adding coffee back in after I was on juice for a while. And I need to juice. Like, I feel like I need to replenish myself. So maybe the reason why you're getting good at this now is because of a need to do so. Like, there was part of you that just, like, I heard like a backache or something. There was just like part of you that was just like run down, and it just brought your awareness to the fact that you needed to kind of like do some focus on self-care. And in doing so, you know, you're getting really good at it. You've had a lot of transformation that's already behind you. Let's celebrate how far you've come. There's transformation happening now, and there's transformation to be experienced ahead. And you are maybe someone who really likes to be in nature, in the sun. Maybe you really like going to the beach, but I feel like the sun feels like a bath. The sun feels so beautiful and good, and like everything is right in the world. That maybe the sun is a major way that you replenish yourself. And if it's kind of tying into pile one where it was like your creative expression, because I kind of want to say, like, being in your sun, meaning the way that you shine in the world. It's when you do that, you feel the same as you would feel if you were like sitting there with the sun shining down on you. And then also other people are warmed by the sun that you radiate when you do express or be in your authenticity. And you really have a way of standing in your truth and the truth of who you are, and being in your authenticity, even amongst like everything that's going on around you, which may be chaos, which may be very ordered, which may be very busy at times. Like, I'm brought to this grass that's here at the bottom of the card, and when I was laying on the lawn earlier meditating, I was like looking at the grass and just like noticing that there was this whole world going on there. Like like an inchworm, an ant, a little hoverfly. And I was just like awed by it, you know, but also like just seeing it for I don't know, the wonder of it, and knowing there's so much more out there for me to know, but also like here I am in my own perspective, so grateful for this creation, the fact that I have this great place to kind of lay in the sun on my lawn, and like that I have all my needs met, and that I am accomplished, as far as like what I wanted to accomplish, my goals. I've met many of them and continue to work towards many others, and like that I have such wonderful and improved relationships with those that I love, and that I am just grateful for spirit, for all of it. So it's kind of like that. Like I feel like you're in that place. Like you understand like what it took to get to where you are, and I feel like you wouldn't want to be any other way, or want to be wearing a mask, right? Like you want the sun to shine directly on your face. You don't want to cover it up or something, or portray something that you're not. It's not even about portraying anything. It's literally about being. And this means that you're really good at accepting what is, not fighting against what is, taking things in stride, taking up your own space. Like you're not gonna like dull your shine for others, or try to not make an impact where you feel it's where you feel you're inspired to do so. Let's read this. As a medium, your work is about offering love, support, healing, and blessings from spirit to yourself and others. It's an extraordinary relationship, but when spirit sends you a sign to rest and rejuvenate, then it's time to take notice. Open your heart and receive spirit's love. It's like this sunshine on the face is spirit's love. It's often said you cannot give from an empty well. While a life of service to spirit is a beautiful calling, it can often leave you feeling tired and drained if you don't take proper care of your body as well as your mind and spirit. By taking time out to fill your cup with love, energy, and vitality, you can maintain a healthier relationship with spirit and improve the quality of your mediumship. The fact that you've chosen this card indicates that your body is telling you to rest. It needs time to rejuvenate and recharge your spiritual battery. You could spend the day reading a good book, being outdoors in nature, or just being with friends. Try to adopt a regular practice of yoga, meditation, body care, or a healing session, and always remember to get a good night's sleep. Make time to listen within and ask your soul what it needs. All of these self-care routines will benefit your overall well-being. Intuitively, you will know when you're ready to return to work with this renewed energy, clarity of mind, and a sense of purpose. So this is saying that you are getting good at knowing when it is time to rest, seeing like you've gotten away from those programs of societal expectations and judgments that you may have had for yourself or others about how their level of exertion, effort, physical activity, or success or achievement, and actually the pace as well. You take things as they are. You understand there's a process of living going on, and that what you're doing sometimes requires you to really take some time away that is totally out of line with what others may expect of you. With like you're gonna be amongst this busy world while also just caring for yourself, just giving yourself what you need in the moment. It's like filling up your own cup, honoring yourself, putting yourself in the equation. And so if this is recognizing you for strengthening this skill, it may mean that you did spend a period of time where you had not been doing that, where you gave, where you were a people pleaser, where you would pour yourself out or sacrifice too much. So let's look at the shells and see what they have to offer. Maybe you've had some commitments that you made that you're kind of like, oh, I don't have the energy for these, but I've just got to do it because I made the commitment. So I've got to suck it up. And you're kind of just like, well, after this, I'm definitely going to take the time for myself. You don't want to ruin your own reputation, or not keep up with promises that you've already made. You're very pure and open-hearted, and you're not codependent at all. You're very independent. And so this has all lent to you being able to self-care and fill up your own cup, give yourself what you need. You're not like going without your needs met so that you have to get them met in some sneaky way or some way that's like covert and other people wouldn't even realize is like a codependent tactic. Or you're not depending on other people. It doesn't mean that you would never depend on a person, but like it means like that's not your first go-to if you were to need something. I feel like you see a light at the end of the tunnel for your immediate future when it comes to self-care. Also, I think you are a person who kind of holds it up for others, whereas like you see the potential in others and you kind of hold space for them to meet their own potential as well, the way that you're working towards doing for yourself. Maybe you realize that part of what you were doing when you were kind of holding up the fort for others was like enabling them to continue on in these codependent patterns. And maybe as you step away to take the rest, you'll see kind of some of that break apart. And people will also have to kind of start caring for themselves as well. And also, they'll have the example of you who does that. And that's beneficial to them. Even more beneficial to them at this stage than doing for them, than rescuing them, than filling their need for them, is being the example of someone who fills your own cup up and fulfills your own needs first. Maybe you do recognize they don't actually have to depend on you, that there are other more solid ways of establishments that they can use to sustain and assist themselves. So, so you know that you're only concerned with fulfilling your own commitments made, and that it's not because they need you. It's because you made the commitment and you honor your commitments that you finish this out and like wrap up the cycle and then proceed on without making those type of commitments anymore, because that's the lesson learned, and that strengthens your energy, being in the space where you haven't extended yourself into commitments that you like. It's kind of like reorganizing the way you operate, whereas you wouldn't agree to a commitment that you that was, I want to say, too far in the future, where you wouldn't necessarily know that you could do it or something like that. Like You would only make commitments that you know you could keep, and you would be very discerning about which ones you knew you could keep, meaning you would check in with your own filled up cup, your own navigation system, your own way of navigating Earth, the way that you're able to trust yourself. Ooh, I feel a little bit impotent when it comes to getting that, what I mean, out. And so there might be that where people wouldn't understand, where you kind of maybe have to even fudge it or lie a little bit, or, something like leave some information out on explaining to people why you're going to be stepping away or why you can't continue on in the way that you've been doing it. Like, it feels like you can't, the words won't come for something that you feel like you need to express. And this may be towards someone that you feel has expectations towards you or for you. Maybe it's like you don't want to disappoint this person, but also you kind of need them to know the truth, but like also you don't know if they'll even be able to see it. And like, oh, it's like you feel like you'll get the first sentence out, but it won't be the complete picture, and then you'll already be cut off or judged by what the first sentence was, and the whole message won't be able to be heard because you'll like trigger somebody, and then they won't even like understand what you needed to say was a lot more than that one sentence that they let you spit out. Yes. All right. So you're in that kind of juggernaut there so that you can help yourself strengthen your skills. And the skill is to be more respectful of you in the equation, right? Like that's how you're strengthening this spiritual skill. And it may be through this like trial and error of realizing, oh, well, it doesn't work if I do it this way, if I let people depend on me, if I make these commitments, and and as far as like needing to communicate, it's like some people won't hear you no matter what you say, right? And I kind of want to say this about that. It's like hold the vibration of what your intention is. Like you intend to have them understand, but you can't make someone understand, right? You can't make someone give you the time to explain yourself or even want to be open to what you have to share. You can't make them. So all you can do is hold the intention that you would like to share and understand, the ability to understand with them. And all you can do is hold the space for that possibility. So I want to give an example where like I had to, I was saying something to my son, and he interrupted me after like the first part of what I said. And it was merely the first part of what I said, and like I needed to say more to get my whole point across. The first part of what I said wasn't even my point. It was just a piece of information that was helpful to the point, or explained why the point was the point, or whatever. And so he hung up on me, and I never got to like. It's like, well, I don't know what to do about that. And like I remember having a little moment of frustration and like whatever. And he also blocked me, so I couldn't explain. But all I did was just like go, well, all right, I'm gonna just hold space for my intention, which I know was good. And then, later in the day, or maybe it was the next day, unblocks me, comes back, and I'm able to express the point, you know? It's like I didn't falter. I didn't act like I had done anything wrong. I just kind of said, well, this person is a little bit sensitive at this time, and I'm just going to hold space for them and know that when they're ready to understand this, they'll open themselves to doing so. Right? So I kind of want to offer that as like an option for dealing with that situation, but also this is like trust yourself, right? Like if you don't have the energy to have that conversation, then don't. Yeah, it's really, really about you right now, and you're learning that. You're learning the importance of it being about you, that you're in the equation. And it's a beautiful thing that you're willing to honor your commitments. But I do want to also offer this, that sometimes it's very important to look at why you made that commitment. And if you made that commitment for a reason that is fearful, then it may be more beneficial to break the commitment than to stick with it. Like, I like to honor my commitments. And then, so this one time, there was this girl who was inviting me to her party. And I had gone to her party in the past because she always just kept inviting me. And I'm kind of this belief, like, you should go when you're invited, like, you know. And I would always check in with myself. It was the right thing to do, and it always had been. But this particular time, she invited me to her party, like, oh, I don't know, 9 months before the party. And then every month she would re-invite me. And as it got closer, the invitation would be reminded, like, every week or whatever. And way from the beginning, I didn't, like, promise that I would go to a party or anything. I just said I'm not sure. If I'm around, then possibly I would go. And then as it came closer, within like a month, I was like, yeah, okay, see you then. And I thought I would go. But it was kind of more in response to her saying that she had bought me a gift that she wanted to give me at the party. And, like, she was just so set on me coming to her party. And I don't think she had bad intentions or anything, but, like, I was just kind of going along, right? Like, I'm living my life. And, like, this is just like a moment of my week that I'm dealing with, as I go. And it's not the highlight of my life, and it's not like a pressing problem for me, to keep just, like, observing that she really wants me to go to her party. And so then it comes to the party, and I'm thinking I'm going to go, but then, like, I just started to feel like something's off here. Like, I don't actually want to go to this party. Like, I really just don't. And then I looked at why am I going to go to this party then? And I'm like, well, I said I would go, so I should go, right? Like, that was my mind, my first thought. And then I was like, well, why did I say I would go? And then I realized, oh my God, it's because she asked me every month for 9 months and every week for 2 months. And she's told me that she's bought me a gift that she's waiting to give to me at the party. And, like, the only reason I'm actually going to this party is because this person really expects me and has like tried to set me up to come to this party, like, to entice me into this party, or assure that I would come to this party. And, like, I was just realizing, like, I fucking hate that. That I was about to go to this party that I don't even want to go to because this person just wanted me to go real bad. And, like, this person isn't a major part of my life. Yes, nice person, just an acquaintance. We're not close. Maybe could have been if we were more relating, but this person does, different things, has a different lifestyle than me. And so I decided not to go to the party. But my point is, like, I looked at the reason why I made that commitment. And I realized, oh my God, the reason why I made this commitment doesn't honor me. I wasn't honoring me. I was sacrificing me for somebody else's expectation and desire. And sacrificing me for somebody else's expectation and desire is not something I'm going to do, ever. And so right then I realized, oh, it's more healthy to break this commitment than it is to honor it. So yeah, I think that there's something there for you in that, all right? I just heard, you can go your own way. Yes, things definitely break apart when you stop kind of carrying them so much. but everybody's okay. Yeah, everybody's okay. Okay? Everybody's okay without them burdening you. It breaks in the way that it's supposed to, and it does so very gently. When I say break, it's just like separations will happen, or more sovereignty happens. Not like a war starts or anything. It's just like a natural flowing away. Yeah. Okay, pick three. That is your information to reflect on. And it completes your reading.